What's going on, everybody? This is Steven Dutzman. I am the editor-in-chief of EngageFamilyGaming.com. I am also the host of Engage, a family gaming podcast, and the EFG Evening News Update. Here we are. This is immediately following the Sony press conference for E3. They killed it. They absolutely killed it. Murdered it, even. They opened the show with, admittedly, a couple of games that were not exactly in the family-friendly sort. Specifically, God of War 4, which was a surprise reveal. We had seen some We had seen some artwork leak that was telling us that God of War would be going from ancient Greece to Norse mythology. I thought that was... I've talked about it on Gaming with the Moms and also on our own podcast. I thought that was kind of a good idea. People are very aware of at least the surface level of Norse mythology, so going up there makes total sense. There's whole lots of gods. Why not go there? What I found interesting is that he had a kid who referred to him as father. So that was interesting. We don't know if there's any time shenanigans or if this is just, who knows. It's a young kid. I really hope that that kid doesn't die. So obviously God of War not exactly known for being family friendly. However, it was a huge announcement. They also announced Sony Ben's new game, which is called Days Gone. It's a zombie apocalypse game about a biker gang. Also not exactly family friendly. But teenagers are kids too. And if you like zombies, it looks like another good zombie game. Family-friendly announcements, there really weren't that many. Most of the games that they announced were, for grown-ups. That's been very common for Sony over the last couple of years. However, they did make some announcements that were relevant to us, most notably. They did not talk about Project Scorpio, not even in the least, which was a surprise considering we are not Project Scorpio, PlayStation Neo. Sorry, Project Scorpio is Microsoft's. This is going to be confusing for me for the next year. So they did not talk about Project Neo, or Codename Neo, or whatever the heck they're calling it, which is interesting considering they had announced that they were going to leave it off their show, and Microsoft earlier on today talked about it. So that was interesting. I thought maybe there would be a last minute, a slide added to the presentation, 10 seconds at least, like, hey, we're going to be bringing this thing, but they did not do so, which leads to a lot of speculation. Are they going to take it back and put it on the drawing board now that they know kind of what the leaked specs are for Project Scorpio? They know what they are trying to do. Are they going to then say, you know what, we're not going to have it be just this little step up, we're actually going to make it be a significant step? Who knows? It's going to be really interesting. And I also, we're going to talk about this on later stuff, but it's kind of feel bad for Nintendo because they were hoping to come in and catch up with everybody, and now here they are. They're going to be a step behind, which has got to be frustrating for them. And this is also really different for gamers in general because we're used to full generations and not these mid-generation console switches. It's rough for everybody that bought a system early on. I'll tell you, it's frustrating for me, but if this is what they're going to do, this is what they're going to do. Gaming it's a luxury hobby. So, other announcements, they made some significant Crash Bandicoot announcements. If you have been a fan of PlayStation for a long time, as I have been, then you will remember Crash Bandicoot was essentially Sony's attempt to answer Mario with a family-friendly 3D platformer. He was one of the hallmarks of the original PlayStation, the PlayStation 1. Back then, obviously, it was just called PlayStation. They would do commercials where Crash Bandicoot would go to, Nintendo headquarters with a megaphone and, yell at them through a megaphone and call out, how ridiculous some of their stuff was. And it was really funny, really quote-unquote edgy in a 90s kind of way. At the end of the day, he's a Bandicoot that wears jorts. I don't know how well he fits in with modern gaming, being that whereas Mario is largely timeless based on the way that they have maintained his brand, and he was never really tied to the 80s when he came in. Crash Bandicoot was the 90s. He was a jean shorts wearing, Bandicoot with attitude, and they are going to bring him back. They're remaking him. They're remaking Crash Bandicoot 1, 2, and 3, and he's also going to be a character in Skylanders Imaginators, which comes out this fall, which means there will be a Crash Bandicoot action figure. So all the Crash Bandicoot fans that are sad that Sony hasn't made their own amiibos, well, here you go. You get to make your own. You get to have your own character. And this is certainly spurned on from the, I don't even know if that's a word. I think it's a word. I don't know. Hit me up in the comments and let me know if that's actually a word. I'm a writer, by the way. So the idea here is that Ratchet and Clank was remade from the ground up, the first game, and it sold like wildfire. Part of that is because people are nostalgic for for those characters, and another piece of that is that it was time. And it's, why not remake one of the original games? That's what they're going to do with Crash Bandicoot. They're remaking them from the ground up, along with their partners at Activision, which I think is very interesting. Will it work? Will it sell as well as Ratchet and Clank? I don't know. The difference is I think nostalgia might carry through. Kind of Funny Videos is they are a web series. They do all sorts of video game content. It is not appropriate for children, but if you want to see the reaction that true older Crash Bandicoot fans may have had when this announcement was made, you can head over to Kind of Funny and look up Tim Getty's Crash Bandicoot reaction, and it's like a 3-minute video of a grown man freaking out about Crash Bandicoot. And I mean, come on, I was crying at Legend of Zelda when they showed us just 30 seconds of horse footage back in December. So that would be so something to talk about there. 30 seconds of horse footage of Legend of Zelda, and it wasn't even really original, and I was in tears. So they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake last year, and our friend Uncle Badger, regular contributor for EFG, he also cried. So I'm certainly not mocking Mr. Geddes. He's an emotional guy, and this was his thing. And he'd been predicting that they would bring back Crash Bandicoot for like 3 years, I think. And here it is, boom, right in his face. So that's the big news from Crash Bandicoot fans. What's really interesting is that it's 3 games. I'm a big fan of that, announcing all 3. I don't know if they're going to come as a collection. I don't know if they're going to be 3 $60 games. We really don't know. We don't know really any of the details. However, they're beautifully cartoony games. And even when I describe him as a Bandicoot with attitude, at the end of the day, it's still a 3D platformer. So it'll be, it's going to be family friendly. This is a great way for Sony to add that. They obviously know that they are, in need of something to fill in the family gaps, and this is one of them. Speaking of filling in some gaps, how about some Marvel games? Sony also announced that Insomniac Studios will be making a new Spider-Man game. Mind blown. Okay, so let's talk about Spider-Man games. Brief history. Many of you parents may not know. Spider-Man, back in the day for the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, he had some great games that were all about exploration, that were about traversal, that really kind of grasped what it was like to really be Spider-Man as best as one could. The problem is Activision bought the license, and they started doing what they have done, which is they just churned out a new game every year, and just took advantage of the Spider-Man name. So unfortunately, a lot of those games started to just be absolute garbage. There's been some silence outside of a game that was a tie-in to the movies recently. So now we see a new, and this could be part of the deal between Disney and Sony, kind of putting everything together. Perhaps Sony made some negotiations to get those rights, and now here we are. It's a new Spider-Man game. It is not going to be tied into the movies. One way you can tell that is you can look to the Spider-Man Homecoming, obviously coming next year. One of the ways you can tell that is you can look at his suit, and if you look at the video, you can see that it's on EngageFamilyGaming.com. Just look up Spider-Man. the spider on his chest, which in most cases is a dark color, like a black or a dark blue. In this case is white, which definitely doesn't match the color scheme in the movies, because if you saw him in Civil War, you saw that there was no white spider. It was a traditional Spider-Man suit. However, it does have the telescoping eyes, which was something that was a big deal in the Civil War, you know, kind of giving it more of a realistic look. But again, the white spider. I think that's probably a way to kind of tell the difference between the two Spider-Mans. What's the plural of Spider-Man? I don't know. That's really exciting. Insomniac most recently made a game called it was Sunset Overdrive. I don't know why I'm forgetting that. Not appropriate for kids in general. However, one of the biggest pieces of this game is that it's described, and I agree, the traversal is like playing Tony Hawk. So it was very fast. It was very fluid. Traversal throughout this giant city was so great that people who were on one side of the map and got a quest on the other side, who normally just kind of sigh, hang their head, and then just trudge through it, now they get to enjoy moving from place to place. If they can recreate that traversal in a Spider-Man game, beautiful. That's exactly what we want. So we don't know any of the details. We don't have a release date. We don't know anything. But we got a really beautiful trailer. Again, you can see it on EngageFamilyGaming.com. It is absolutely gorgeous. So that was it from the family-friendly announcements. They talked about VR, confirming the prices and all that, which we've talked about before. But for those of you who are new, it was about $399.99 and it's coming out in mid-October, October 13th, I believe. So yeah, that's it. That was Sony's press conference in a nutshell. Pretty excited about that. Lots of cool stuff. Definitely some cool games to play after the kids go to bed. But at least they made some announcements. The Crash Bandicoot games, I think the kids are going to really enjoy that. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of E3. I know I will. I will be busy. Now I'm going to go to bed. All right? So we will talk to you for the next press conference. See you guys later. Let's get hype.